Okay,
Okay, thank you. Bear with us for just a moment. I'm going to give it another minute or two. See if we have one other member of the planning board joining us tonight.
and I see Attorney O'Brien. I'll promote him as well.
Okay, well, you know what? It's 7 o'clock. We do have a quorum, so I think we'll get started. Good evening, everyone. I'm Carol Lisbon, Chair of the Dover Planning Board. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock tonight. This meeting is being conducted via a Zoom webinar per guidance from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts back in March of 2003. The web address is found on the Dover website's calendar, and the meeting is being recorded. We always start our meetings with the opportunity for citizens to share any comments they might have with the planning board for items that are not on tonight's agenda. So is there anybody here tonight that wants to participate that does not have an agenda item? Okay, well, seeing none, I'm going to call a roll call first. Jody Shu,
Here.
Katie Williams,
Here.
Val Lynn,
Here.
and of course, Carol Lisbon, I am here. We also have Melissa Santucci Rosie, our town planner, our Board of Selectmen liaison, Robin Hunter, and we'll have various members associated with the applications that we go through tonight. So with all of that, we will start on our regular board meeting, item 2A, which is the preliminary site plan review for a solar array at 139 Center Street. And I will turn the meeting over to Melissa. And I believe
Thank you so much, Carol. Brendan, just so I'm going to do a little introduction, and I have the wonderful set of plans. I can find them here. Here we go. Okay. All right, let me zoom in if I can. Move you guys around so I can, and I have a variety of plans. I will start with the plot plan as I'm talking, and then I can show some other materials. As the board is aware, there was a very full package that was provided. So we're here this evening for 139 Center Street, the Betancourt property. We reviewed a pool at this property a couple months ago, and their vendor, Brendan Regan, is also here from his company over the past couple weeks. So the application was filed on October 20th, very complete application with plans and a very nice narrative that I forward. So these individuals are looking to do a ground mount facility at 50, ground mount with 55 panels, 41, 44 MB panels as they're classified, with a size of 24.2 kilowatts DC. And that particular size, when looked at our bylaw and bylaw specifications, is classified as a medium scale solar facility. If I can draw everyone's attention to the shared screen, looks a little bit busy, but what we can see here in the back portion of this lot, this is a very large lot, and this particular array is located about 1,000 feet off of Center Street, and it's going to be just behind the septic system. This lot's an interesting lot. It has a unique shape to it, and it's bound sort of on either side by resource areas. And as you can see, some of the lines on this plan, you can see the wetland flags and also those buffer zone. So this particular area of the property is not within any jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. So they found an area that they did some disturbing to for the septic and overflow, and now they're going to also locate the solar, which is scaled off here by about 60 feet wide and about 20 feet deep, and about 31.6 feet from the rear lot line and almost 31 feet from the side lot line. So within the setbacks for accessory structures. As noted in the report, I did cover most of the criteria in our regulations. Again, I want to note the application was very complete and had a lot of information. So most of the items that are required have been provided. On this particular scenario, you can see there was some tree removal associated with the solar for about 12 or 15 or so. Hold on, let me double check. 15 trees in total. If you're familiar with this area and familiar with this property, this area is very, very densely wooded. And like I said, 1,000 feet off of the street. So there really is no impact to abutters in this particular location. And even with the rebuild of the house and the pool and all the other things, the property owners have been very sensitive to tree removal and being selective on where they're locating things on the property. Whether or not they had tree preservation in mind, they have in fact succeeded on that goal as well. Looking at the findings that we typically make in the report, again, highlighted some of the items that I just talked about, the proximity to the street. We're not going to be generating any more additional traffic or need for parking and these things. Again, I don't sorry in this particular case, the trees that were removed in the back will be subject to the stormwater permit through the town engineer under chapter 159. And that's based.
Melissa, your connection is on and off there.
I do want to shuffle a little bit through the plan. Um, can you hear me?
Now we can. It's been a little
Okay.
iffy. Yep.
Sorry. If you want to pause after this, Carol, I can try to relocate it in my house. I have 5 bars now, though.
Okay.
I do want to draw our attention to this specific page because I know this has come up in the past, and the applicants provided a nice diagram of the different signs that are going to be required due to the solar array voltage and things like that. Which is helpful so that the board knows these signs are required under code and exempt from our zoning bylaw. So I wanted to point that out because some of the applications don't have this level of detail. And then we have some basic numbers and things that are a little over my head. But I wanted to show this diagram, which shows the array. This array is going to be more at a tilt. And I've noted in the report at the shortest point, we're 6 feet off grade. And at the tallest point, we're 12 feet off grade. So as you can see, the lower side is the 6 and the higher point is the 12 feet. As the board can see, I have continued to upgrade our conditions. And doing some research and reading as I get more familiar with the bylaw. We are going to be incorporating going forward the work hours so that all vendors in Dover are aware of the work hours as stipulated in the general bylaws. And that pretty much concludes my presentation, Carol. If there's any other questions, I can try to answer those. And I'm not sure if Brendan wanted to add anything as well.
Okay, Brendan, you have anything to add? And welcome.
Lynn, thank you first and foremost for having me. Melissa, you've made my job so much easier. I was crossing out, all those key points that you went over. And we really appreciate the kudos on, we really take this seriously first and foremost. especially coming into a new town, trying to follow the bylaws, conservation, anything, we try to cross our T's, dot our I's. We sent out people multiple times to the location to get exact measurements of, and just putting it in a prime spot, that was convenient for the homeowner and of course the town, which is the most important part in our eyes. We don't want to ruffle any feathers. We want to be able to provide the right information and make it work, right? Besides, I can't think of anything that I could possibly add. I know in our original conversation you had mentioned, in regards to the trenching. We're fortunate enough in this project that we're not handling it. The homeowners GC is, but of course, having dealt with you guys before, they know that once covered after inspection, they have to make that look pristine and top loom, regrass, make it look like it's never been dug out before. So you're just going to have a ground mount in the back, some equipment hidden on the home, and it's going to be able to produce solar energy for what they need and have in regards to utilities at their home.
Okay, well, thank you, Brendan. Just to let you know, she makes our jobs a lot easier also.
I can imagine. I could imagine. She did a lot of research, and we tried to provide as much information as we could in such a short period of time. But we wanted to be thorough in this and make sure she had everything to make the sound decision.
Well, we appreciate that, and we haven't done a lot of these ground-mounted solars, but we've done a few, and this certainly is a wonderful application. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Planning board members, any questions for either Melissa or Brendan?
Melissa, I have a question. Could you bring up the site plan, the
Yeah.
engineering drawings one more time? I just had a question. I think everything looks great, and I love
Let me
that they want to use solar panels. I think that's great. Yeah. So the location in the back of the property.
Here we go. Sorry.
That's okay. Perfect. So I just want to make sure that I'm looking at this correctly. This is an R2, right? So when you look at the minimum rear setback, I thought it was 40 feet.
It is for accessory structures. It's in the front, it's the same as the primary. And then the side and the rear is half of the primary setback.
Okay, perfect. Okay, that helps me a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, I look at it every time too, Val, because I'm like, is it half or full? Yes, it's
Yeah.
half. So in
Okay,
this
perfect.
particular case, they could be closer, but they're about 10 feet closer into the lot than they need to be.
Thank you.
I think Val, that's a common issue when we look at the scheduled dimensions. I think we added a footnote recently, and maybe at the past town meeting, to explain that. Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so it's been our tradition to literally read the motion. As these motions and conditions are getting longer. I'm sorry, Melissa. Nope, start again. I think I just lost you.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, can't see you, but I can hear you. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Okay. I was just getting up the draft decision.
Right, so in the past, we've read the motion and all the conditions. This is a very long motion with 11 conditions. And rather than read it, I thought we would just show it on the screen and make a motion to reference the approval decision that you've written with the motion. Is that okay, Melissa?
I think that's fine,
Right.
Carol. And again, just noting, the document is dated October 28th. So we can just reference that. And I think that will be very clear.
Okay, great. So did anybody have any questions about the various conditions and motions that were in the draft decision that was sent to us along with the package?
None for me, Carol, thank you.
None. Okay, so Jody, would you mind making just the very beginning part of the motion?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to approve the PSPR application for a medium-scale solar array at 139 Center Street and all supporting materials referenced above in section 2 of this report with the conditions contained here within. And also, I think, Melissa, I'm sorry, should I have added the date dated? The application dated October 28th, 2025 for the medium-scale solar array.
Yes, the decision dated October 28th. Yep.
Decision, okay, got it,
Yep.
yeah, thank you.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second,
Okay, so let's take a roll call vote. Katie,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
Val,
yes.
and Carol, yes. Okay, well, Brendan, thank you very much for a wonderful application. And look forward to more solar energy in Dover.
Awesome. Awesome. I do definitely appreciate it. Hopefully this is first of many.
Or a third of many, but yes. First of many for you.
Mhm, for sure.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You as well.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to agenda item 2B, which is a joint public hearing between the planning board and the tree warden regarding a scenic way application from 152 Walpole Street. So Melissa, are you there? Ah, there you go.
I am here. I can't see much. Um,
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I'm tempted to move. What do you think?
Well, if you think there's an area that's going to be better, then yes, please.
Yes, give me 2 minutes. I'm so sorry.
Okay, no problem. So we'll just wait for a moment there. So Vin, I assume you're here for this one?
Yes, and if possible, when Melissa gets back on, could she let Ron Tiberi join the group? He's
Okay, yep.
on the project. He knows a lot more about it than I do.
Okay, he's in the waiting room?
He was at least.
Okay, we will make sure to do that.
Technology is often our friend, but sometimes it can be a challenge.
Can't live with it, can't live without it. Maybe it's the cloud cover, who knows?
All right,
Welcome back.
I'm back. Hope my husband doesn't come home. Okay. All righty. Let me get,
Okay, Ron Tiberi is waiting to be let in.
yeah, I tried to promote him a couple times and he declined. Oh, he's back. Let me see if I can get him. Okay, and we also have Mike and Jerry. Mike, I will promote you as well. He's here on behalf of DPW.
Right?
Okay. They should both be all set. Sorry about that.
I see Ron and Mike looks like he's here.
Yep. Okay, let me just
Okay,
get
great.
my file out.
So this is a public hearing. I'm going to open up the public hearing at 7:18 PM. It was advertised appropriately in the in 2 weeks of our local newspaper. Is there anybody here that would like to have the public hearing announcement read? Okay, so we will proceed with the discussion relative to the public hearing. During that time, anybody attending can share their comments. Once we vote to close the public hearing, there will be no more input from the applicant or the public. and the planning board will either vote or decide to take other action. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Melissa.
Thank you, Carol. I am going to share my screen. I tried to incorporate as much as I could into the report as far as language and photos and things. So originally started working with Artie over at Cheney Engineering on this particular one for 152 Walpole LLC at 152 Walpole Street for scenic road determination. Phil McGowan is the manager of the LLC and the applicant. The application that was submitted, and I'm gonna move through my report. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
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 Yep.
Okay. Move through my report. That was the fun stuff about the advertising. So the application that was submitted asked for permission for true trees that were already removed, an 8-inch tree and a 10-inch tree. Also seeking permission to locate a trench drain in the right-of-way layout of Walpole Street, about 6 feet of that, and also about a 4-foot section of a retaining wall. So that was the request that was made. Obviously went through all the materials, conducted a whole bunch of review from aerial photos, former aerial photos and street views. Obviously the work's already been done, so was not able to do the site visit and gather that information. So the first photos that we have here in the report are the photos that were submitted with the application. This is across the street, obviously looking at the driveway. As you can see, we have quite a bit of tree removal interior to the lot, and Mike Angeri is working through that on the stormwater side of things. Here we have a photo that would be to the south of the driveway. The property line is pretty much around where that wattle and hay line ends. So there's not that much room on the site on the right side of the driveway looking at the property. And then the area in question north of the driveway where we have the Corrigan sign, that is the area in which we are discussing for the tree removal. Again, noting they've requested 2 trees. So we have, again, I've noted the procedures in the staff report. Again, just noting that it was advertised, the things that were required to be submitted, it was stamped in with the town clerk, all that great stuff. And again, noting for the record, this is a joint hearing pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 87, with the tree warden. So as we start to get to the meat of the report and look at the findings and the considerations, so this outlines a variety of different considerations for the board to consider when looking at the scenic way. So the first photo I have here is from 2019, and I was able to go in and put these little yellow dots at the base of the trees. So again, if you can remember the photo that I showed previously, my review is that 4 trees have been removed from this area. It's very clear. You can refer back in your report. There were 4 trees there and they are now gone. And then if you look at the new street view, you can very clearly see in 2025 the distinct line of the 4 trees that were located much closer to the driveway opening. And then we get into the more densely wooded things. There is a utility pole there located along Walpole Street. So a nice fixed thing that I was able to make some further analysis off. Basically everything behind that is intact and everything in front of it has in fact been removed. This particular section of Walpole Street on the right-hand side or the even side, the 152 Walpole side, is pretty intact, pretty mature, has that sort of mature historic look. There has been some augmenting of this a little bit further up on the odd side of the street. You can kind of tell what's been there for a long time and what has been augmented along the right of way. Again, this stretch really kind of gives that true scenic feel and a very rural feel, in fact. the removal of the vegetation along the right of way is sort of the aspect that we're looking at, but I think it's important to note that the additional tree removal that has taken place in the setback on the lot has really sort of changed the feeling of this property. So it's very important, and I want to note for the record that the replanting plan has not been submitted to date. And, you know, Mike can speak to that, but I know that he's eager to have that, in fact, provided so that they can get going along with these plantings. A little too late to plant now, but you can try to hit an early spring planting. One of the items that was noted in the report from Mr. Tiberi was that the trees were removed to, quote, provide additional visibility, proper drainage, and safer egress. And respectfully requesting some documentation to support that. When we look at sight lines, obviously there's a measurement point in which we gather that information from. We look at the speed on the road and how far people can see on either side. Typically, if somebody is removing trees or obstructions or whatever they might be, structures, signposts, we typically see some type of analysis showing the sight line, showing the obstruction, and the justification for that. So again, looking for some justification in support of that finding from the civil engineer. Traffic and volume congestion. It's no secret, Walpole Street connects 109 to the center of town, and there definitely has been an increase in volume along that corridor over the last 10 or 20 years. We also have the section F, which really isn't relative here. It's the design standards in comparison to the subdivision of land requirements. I mean, Walpole Street is windy, curvy. Everyone knows it's a kind of an interesting road. In my discussions with the tree warden, DPW director, who is on vacation, or he would be here himself, because the trees were removed without any permission, he's looking for fines in lieu of replanting, and those are detailed in the draft conditions, which we may or may not get to later on this evening. Again, the 2 trees that were specified, the 8 and 10, we calculated the fees on that, requesting that the engineer provide documentation on the size of the other 2 trees that were removed, so we can calculate that payment as well. And then just moving along here in the report, the trench drain, my recommendation is the trench drain get moved back further up the driveway. Trench drains are great when they're maintained. We do not want to have something like that in the right of way and without any type of formalized easement. I think it can be slid to be totally contained within the property on the lot and maintained by the owner. He does have this tied into some subsurface infiltration and overflow, which is definitely a good idea. But again, we don't want to be taking on any additional maintenance and burden on the town for private drainage, which this in fact is. The second item is the retaining wall, and I'm going to close this document for now and pull up the plan as I talk through these aspects. Where is the plans?
While you're looking for that, I just have
Yep.
a question. Mike,
Oh, here they are.
Mike Angieri, and Melissa, I guess, is the issue of trench drains and drainage in general a planning board site plan review item? I don't think in the past that we've really addressed it this specifically, or is it more of a town engineer DPW chapter 159 type issue?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you, Mike.
Okay, hi. I tried to get the visual aspect open, but I'm not able to for some reason. But it can be both. It depends on the location and what you're trying to achieve. In this case, they put it they were using the existing driveway opening, if you will, with slight modifications to give them a little bit better, clearer access ability to the property, and putting it. We try to get as much drainage control as we can. Ron had showed it. I didn't know if there would be a problem, but I knew it would be, further reviewed, and it certainly can be moved back. It's not going to be detrimental if it's moved back 5 or 6 or 10 feet. So that can be done. But on a lot of these properties where we have these steep driveways, we try to capture as much runoff. So we try to get them in decent locations, and this can be moved back.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Mike. So moving along, again, just wanted to kind of create a visual. This plan's got a lot going on it, but if I can draw your attention to the driveway opening, and to the left of that, we see 2 words that say cut, and that's the 8 and the 10-inch tree that I described in the photos. We can see the trench drain. You can see it crossing over the green line, which is the front property line. And then the third item that they're looking for permission to locate in the right-of-way is about a 4-foot section of retaining wall. And looking at the grades in there, I do support the retaining wall slightly returning into the layout like this. That will help tie it into the natural grades and really kind of close up that corner. Moving the wall back into the lot will necessitate a little bit higher height on the wall. But one thing that we don't have is we don't have a detail for the wall. We don't have any construction materials, construction methods, noting that anything, including the footing of 4 feet, is going to require a structural stamp and a building permit. So again, we want to have a better understanding of what is going to be the end result of this particular retaining wall and what is it going to look like, again, because it will be visible. It will be at a perpendicular angle, and we want to make sure that the design is in keeping with the mature scenic setting that we have in this section of Walpole Street. That concludes my information, obviously available for any questions, follow-up, or if you'd like me to cover anything else, happy to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Ron, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't see any issue with the suggested changes. The wall will require the building department and a design on it purely based on height. Something like this, I'd probably recommend that we go with more of a natural stone. That way it kind of feeds into more of the scenic look as opposed to some of the precast type stuff that's out there. Adjustments to the drainage, I don't see any issue with that at the street line. We've tried to make an effort to reduce the runoff coming down that driveway since it's been so steep for so long. And we're trying to mitigate as much as possible at that corner. But if you can take a look at the left at the first plateau, we added significant drainage up there to try to capture a lot of water coming down the hill before it even gets to the driveway. I'm not sure what this looked like before they did any work, but we also try to take a curse off that driveway and make it a little safer to go up and down as well. But as far as the recommendations go, I don't see any issues with making those changes.
Okay, thank you. Planning board, any questions?
Can you just clarify, Melissa, where this leaves us then with the stone wall specifically? Do we just sort of like put that on the shelf for the moment?
Well, I would default to the board. There's a couple things that can happen. If the board is okay with that being conditioned, we can have that in the conditions, and I would review that and get the approval from the chair. If the board isn't comfortable with that, we continue the hearing. We're within our timeframes. And we ask them to come back on the 17th with those materials for full complete review by the board.
Carol, can you remember a time when a stone wall was reviewed administratively on a scenic road? Or would that be sort of an outlier way to handle?
Well, scenic
I'm
road.
thinking about
covers tree-
consistently.
Yeah, the scenic road, of course, covers trees and stone walls. Usually it's when they're taking down a stone wall
Yeah,
or putting in a new, curb cut within a stone wall.
right.
I thought we've discussed stone walls on Haven Street. There was one that came in front of us, and I thought also on Dedham Street.
Right, no, you're right, Val. I remember discussing them. I'm just wondering, like, in this instance, Melissa's suggesting that one option we have would be to sort of just defer it to administrative review. And I'm just wondering if that would be consistent with other Stonewall applications, because I'm always kind of looking for consistency in these things.
I don't
Great.
remember that. I also know that we are within the timeline where we could continue this to our meeting on November 17th
Mhm.
and ask that the applicant get us that design work.
Yeah.
Continue the hearing to the 17th.
The only reason I'm suggesting it, not because I don't think it could be reviewed administratively, but I do think once we start doing that, then you sort of like opening up, well, then just review all of them administratively. And I would prefer not to do that either. So I feel like probably continuation on that piece is a good idea, personally.
Okay. Other comments and questions?
Melissa, are we able to get the name of the company that did the tree cutting? Only because we're trying to do a lot of education outreach to tree cutting companies.
I can try to find out. I don't know if Mr. Tiberi or Mr. Attorney O'Brien know who that is, but I can reach out to the applicant if they don't know.
I don't know.
Great.
I don't know either, no.
Thanks, Melissa.
Yep, I will contact Mr. McGowan for that.
So given the extensive tree cutting that was done on the property, are there chapter 151 mitigation requirements?
Yes. Yep. Yep.
And do they involve replanting or contributions into the fund or a combination of both? Are we at that?
I would
Haven't seen-
default to Mike and Jerry. I don't believe he's gotten that yet. There are some notes here that you can see on the screen, and Mike has really detailed the plan. Trees noted as cut to be mitigation, submit separate landscape plan to show tree mitigation. Replanting along side yard, and he's got some other notes as
Yeah.
well around the plan. So I don't want to speak for him, but definitely some trees have to get planted at the top of that slope. Whether or not it's a 1-for-1 or there is some mitigation, I wouldn't be able to answer that right now, Carol.
Mike, can you opine a little bit?
Yes, as noted, I have a lot of marks on the plan and the number of them are pertaining directly to tree mitigation. I think that when the plan comes in, I'll look at it with Ron, and I know that we want to get trees in that will be suitable. I think perhaps more on the side yard to provide a little bit more cover between the adjacent properties on the left and right hand side. We can probably put a few of them down in the front yard, but you've got the septic system there. And then you've got an area between the septic system and the driveway. So there can be some replanting there. So we're going to have Ron look to see, like I said, side yard replanting, rear yard, just to build that little comfy barrier between the abutters properties and a little bit in front. And what I try to do on a lot of the properties is look at the trees they're planting and, suggest that the trees they're planting have a decent growth size, but they don't end up being, 200-foot tall pine trees or something like that. So it's something that is comfortable in the particular areas, gets you a decent height, and is something you can live with for quite a long time and have a nice mature growth. So I'll be working with Ron with that, and we'll get a good plan in. If for some reason they can't do some of the mitigation on site, then there may end up being some compensation. But it's a
Was
pretty
there,
big lot, so I think with a decent, working with a decent landscape company that knows the trees in the areas, we can do quite a bit on site. And this goes to most of the other properties in town too. Always trying to look to put back trees that are going to be comfortable growing in a little bit more of an open environment than before. And where that can't be done, then we look at mitigation through compensation.
sure, thank you. So I just have another question that, for Mike or Val, also our tree guru as well. Was there any cutting that was done out of the normal process? In other words, it's one thing to mitigate. We have a relatively new chapter 159, and normally we don't get too many situations where the scenic road bylaw has been not adhered to prior to cutting. So I guess my question is, why were the trees that we're looking at from the scenic road standpoint, those 4 cut down prior to a scenic road hearing? Certainly the applicant and those associated with the application have done enough work in Dover to know about our scenic road bylaw. So I'd just like to understand how this happened. Maybe we need to find a way for either better communication to applicants ahead of time through all the land use departments, or some type of education program. So
What I've seen, what I've seen working with chapter 159 and now chapter 198, we've been working for a while to get the notice out there so that the landscape companies and the tree cutting companies are aware of what is now going on in the town of Dover. Some of them are, and some of them are starting to ask questions. But I've sent out 3 or 4 notices already to homeowners who have just hired companies and gone in and cut down all the trees in the front yard. I've sent out several notices, but it's a matter of getting the notice out. This work was done. I think I was introduced to this site back in February, and the trees were gone.
well, I guess that's my point, Mike. This is
Yeah.
this is
They were
not
just gone.
this is not an owner or a developer or a contractor that has not worked in Dover before.
Yeah.
Unlike the solar company that we just looked at a site plan review for.
Yeah.
So my question is to somebody representing the applicant, knowing that this was a scenic road and knowing what our bylaws was, why was all this cutting done prior to getting approval?
Like I said, it was done the day I was introduced to the site. It had already been done. Just
I know,
Um,
my question isn't to you, Mike, it's to either Ron or Vin. I don't know exactly who you're representing, but I think this is an issue. You know, mitigation and fines and replantings are done when there's been hopefully, a mistake made or an oversight. It's hard for me to understand how this site could be destroyed this way as an oversight. I would just like some kind of explanation.
I'm late to the game, so I don't know. I just got involved about 2 weeks ago.
I think it's still the notice. I think it's the public notice and the understanding. Every time I'm working with contractors now, I'm trying to, a lot of them I've been working with over the years and over the last 5 or 6 months on these projects that now are deeply involved in this chapter 159. And it's still going back and forth with their engineers to get the details shown that need to be shown. So it's evolving and it's working its way to the point where now the engineers are knowing about it, the people I work with are knowing about it, and the contractors are getting the knowledge they need not to do this. Like I said, I think these trees were cut down. I was on this site, I think, in February, just looking at it, and the trees had already been taken down. They just went in and cut them down, and I've seen this on other sites.
So you're talking
seen-
February 2025, the bylaw was passed in May of 2024
Right.
or 2023.
And it was passed in May, but it did not get approved by the Attorney General's office until I think September or October. And we were trying to get the news out to people, but it can be a very difficult process to get this out. And like, you were asking who was the tree company that did it. You can't imagine how many tree companies there are that I've never seen working in town before. I just drove by a property on Walpole Street today. They cut down every tree in the front yard, every tree. And some of those trees, I think Walpole Street is obviously it's a scenic road, but they weren't inside the town line, but they were in the front yard. They wiped every tree out. They must have cut down 15 trees, and best I could do was get a letter off to them. So it's just been a little bit of a process to get the notice out there and to get all of the attention that the contractors need, and then to try to get to these tree cutters that they're hiring. Some of them some of them come in from New Hampshire.
Well, first of all, I understand there's no one here from the applicant that can answer the question. And following up on Jody's comment as well, it's going to be my vote to continue this hearing to November 17th to get that answered as well. You know, it's what tree companies get hired by contractors.
Yep.
It's an obligation of the contractor to understand the bylaws and the rules and the regulations of the town in which they're working, especially a contractor that's built how many houses in Dover already? So I still would like to get an explanation of that. And I understand what you're saying, and certainly for private homeowners who aren't involved at all and don't go to town meeting and all that kind of stuff, you know, that is an issue. And you know, there's some of us at the townhouse are talking about how we communicate what gets done at town meeting to the citizens of Dover so that they understand what's changed. But there's an additional obligation to a contractor, especially those that work in Dover. So, are there any other questions?
No,
Okay.
Carol, I agree with what you're saying. And I think it's also important that we put the ownership on those working in our community to know our bylaws and to work according to those bylaws. And to your point, our stormwater management bylaw was changed, I think, almost 2 years ago. And so there's been time for people to update themselves with it.
Yep. Any other comments from either Ron or Vin?
No.
In that case, I'm going to vote to close the public hearing. Melissa?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, do we want to see if there's any public here? This is a public hearing.
Sure. Are there any? I don't see any. So.
We have 3 attendees. I'm not sure if they're here for that. If any of the attendees are here to give public comment on 152 Walpole, can you raise your hand, please? And I'll promote you to a panelist. No hands raised, Carol.
Okay. In that case, I'd like to take a vote to close the public hearing. Val?
Yes.
Jody?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
And Carol, yes. Okay, the public hearing is closed. So at this point, the 4 planning board members that are here will deliberate and discuss this. Do we have any further comments to make?
Are we continuing this, Carol?
Well, that's what we're going to vote on in just a minute.
Okay, but
Yep.
we're closing the hearing and then just have the, okay, got you. Just want to make sure I get it right.
No problem. Any more comments, folks? Then I'm going to make a recommendation that we continue the hearing until November 17th. And that the applicant work with Melissa to provide more detail on the 4-foot retaining wall. To provide information on trees 3 and 4. Their size and the mitigation fines that are appropriate for it. And that someone attend the meeting on the 17th to explain how this property got to the state that it's in the timeline that it did without any approvals from the town of Dover. Do I hear a second for that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Val?
Yes.
Jody?
Yes.
Katie?
Yeah.
And Carol, of course, is yes. So Ron and Vinny, thank you for coming tonight. I guess we'll see you and maybe some others on the 17th. And please just work with Melissa and hopefully we can put this to bed on the 17th.
Sounds good. Thanks, Carol. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Thank
Take
you.
You need me to stay on board or am I done?
No, I think you're done, Mike. Thank you so much. Appreciate all your input.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, so we move on to item number 2C, which is the review and adoption of the 2026 Planning Board meeting dates. And I must say, add this to the list of the most comprehensive planning dates calendar that I've had the privilege to see in my years on the planning board. So thank you, Melissa. I turn it
You're
over to
welcome. You're welcome. I just want to note, if there's any questions, some of the dates for the definitive subdivision, special permits, those things that we have to have a public hearing for. I really backed into those to make sure that we had enough time to send the notice to the newspaper. And also some of the dates might look even further pushed back. For example, around the holidays, papers on Thursday, Thanksgiving's on Thursday. So they were adjusted to make sure that we have sufficient time to review and advertise appropriately. Thank you, Carol.
Well, thank you for this. I have asked Melissa and maybe we'll do it. I don't know, Melissa, whether you're going to wait until we get an admin on board or not, but she'll send out the calendar invites.
Yep.
As well, to make it a lot easier for you to get into your calendars. But for right now, we've got this.
Thank you. It's great.
Thank you very much. I assume this will be posted outside the planning board
Yep.
office.
Yep, I've been posting more things. I'm not sure who's been by, but I put our legal notices out there as well. We get a lot of traffic in the hallway there, so just trying to, get the information out to residents as best as we can.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, then we go to item 2D, which is the request for zoning enforcement of signage at 93 Dedham Street. And there's.
If I may, Carol?
Yeah.
So, as the members recall, we had an inquiry, back in August from one of the members about a sign that's been at 93 Dedham for a long time. Had some follow-up, from another board member, as to, Melissa, did you look into this? What are you doing? So I had a discussion with the building inspector, actually emailed the building inspector and highlighted some sections of the ordinance, the regulations and bylaw related to signs, questioning like, what is this doing? How big is it, et cetera. I had suggested in a discussion to him that I was going to go out and measure it. The building inspector took it upon himself, went out and measured it, reported back to me that it's 10 square feet. So now we know how long it's been there. Well, the shortest period would have been since August, but we know it went up before August. And then we know that it is 10 square feet. So what I've done, let me pull up my report so I can share that. Those that want to follow along from home. So we have a couple photos here, a close-up photo of the sign. Again, this is 10 square feet. And then a little bit further away from Dedham Street. Again, highlighting the discussion that I had with the building inspector. So what I did was went through all of the regulations and all the pertinent sections of the bylaw and highlighted the ones that are in violation. So the first one that comes up is regulation 246-4, which is temporary signs. It's very clear, temporary signs in residential districts, which this is. You got to be doing something. Landscaping, construction, maintenance work shall require a permit from the planning board if their use will exceed either the duration of the work or maximum of 60 days maximum of 30 days within a 60-day period. Well, there's no work going on there now, and we know this has been up far longer than 30 days, as noted here in the violation section. I also checked the MSL, the listings, and this property is not listed for sale at this current time. Moving along in the regulations, again, you're exempt if you're under that 30-day period. Well, this has been up for over 30 days and therefore not in the exempt category. Moving along in regulation 246-8, there was 2 sections. Failure to file an application when one is required. I think that in this particular case, 2 applications would be required. One to the zoning board of appeals for the size, again, it exceeds the 9 square feet, and one to the planning board because the activity the duration is far exceeding 30 days if there was a valid activity happening there. Again, these 2 sections here, and the building inspector shall have the authority to enforce the provisions. This reasoning here is what supports the request for zoning enforcement. Then we move over to the zoning bylaw. General requirements, the following shall apply to all signs. Any sign not expressly permitted or exempt under this bylaw is prohibited. Again, a violation. There is no activity, nor is the property for sale. So it's not just a matter of putting up a sign and the size. There needs to be a qualifying event in order for that sign to be lawful in a residential district. And then again, the last section here, which I had mentioned, if there was an activity there and it was in the 30 days, or they did come to the planning board and got extended permission, there was going to be some longer duration activity there, and the board was comfortable with that. The sign is 9 square feet. So this one is 10 square feet. So quite a few things here, again, in the regulations and also in the zoning bylaw. The reality is you have to have a qualifying event and there's a time period on that. If there was some extended activity going on there and everybody was aware of that, a construction project, what have you, something was presented, maybe the board would look favorably upon an extended period. However, that hasn't been presented, nor were they able to weigh in on that. And again, the size, I'm not familiar with what the zoning board grants and doesn't grant here. But in this particular case, just looking at some basic parameters, there really is no hardships associated with this particular one. And I think if there was going to be anything that was done, we need to make sure that these signs, again, need to be within the requirements of the bylaw in this particular case, the 9 square feet. I have put together a suggested motion. I don't know if the board wants to hold off on that or ask any other questions, but ready and willing to pursue a request on behalf of the board if they're inclined to advise me to do so for zoning enforcement under the sections detailed in this report. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Melissa. Would anybody like to ask any questions or comments?
I have that's incredibly thorough. Thank you.
I will also note that the sign in question of Corrigan Luxury Developments is the same sign that's at 152 Walpole Street, which is also too large, though there's construction going on, so it is a valid sign to have. So in discussions with Melissa will be also letting Corrigan Luxury Developments know that they really should reduce the size of their standard size signs so that they do fall under the bylaw. So if no questions or comments on this, Jody, would you mind reading the motion? And Melissa, could you scroll down to that, please? Thank you.
Yes. Yep.
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion. The planning board formally requests zoning enforcement of the sign at 93 Dedham Street for the violations of Dover zoning bylaw section 185-35 and planning board regulations chapter 246 as detailed in the town planner's memorandum dated October 30th, 2025. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion before we take a vote? Okay, let's take a roll call vote. Katie?
Yes.
Jody?
Yes.
Val?
Yes.
And Carol, yes. And before we move on, we've had a confluence of sign issues that have come up in the last couple of months. We had a citizen of Dover contact the zoning enforcement officer back in June to complain about the proliferation of vendor signs all over the place, you know, painters, mosquito control folks, and those types of things. I think we've all noticed a huge proliferation of construction signs, you know, construction ahead, and then 20 feet later, construction driveway ahead. We've noticed turtle crossing signs and duck crossing signs. Fortunately, no deer crossing signs because we'd have to have those every 10 feet. And a significant increase on what I would call state probably mandated safety signs. You know, speed limits and those types of things. Though the best one is around the corner, which says, you know, something like hill ahead. So as you're facing a hill. And so all this has come together through emails, comments by citizens, our own observations. And when you look at chapter 246-3, which was a bylaw that was done about 8 years ago or so by the planning board, it starts off with the purpose. And it says, the planning board has adopted this chapter with the following objectives: to provide guidance to residents and business owners, blah, 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 to encourage attractive and functional signs that enhance the visual environment, and C, to discourage visual clutter. And, you know, traditionally, at least in the decades that I've been involved, we did have a philosophy in town of trying to keep signs to a minimum. And, you know, my personal sense is at this point that we have lost that philosophy. So Melissa and I had the opportunity to meet with Mike Blanchard and Robin, was it last week, I think? And just to talk about this whole issue. And because some of it has to do with other town departments. And Mike will be looking into this, not only with, you know, detail, but also having discussions about this philosophy and whether it's something that is understood by all the various departments that do have an impact on signs. I got an email today from another resident who informed me that some vendor had put up a sign on a stop sign, which of course is dangerous. And she actually just called the police department and said, you've got an extra sign on a stop sign. It's a safety issue. So we just see this proliferation of signs, and it's probably gotten a little bit out of hand. I think, you know, if we do a bylaw that gets approved at town meeting, then I think the residents of the town expect it to be adhered to. So I think town staff will be looking at all this over the next couple of weeks or month or so, and hopefully we'll see some action on it in general.
Thanks, Carol. Can I just ask, if we know that the sign, just on this point, if we're going to talk about the size of the sign on Dedham Street being problematic, as Melissa has mentioned, and we know that it's the same sign on Walpole Street, why are we asking them to consider changing the sign instead of telling them to change the sign? Maybe it's just because we don't have the teeth, but just out of curiosity, again, with this idea of consistency.
You mean the notification to Corrigan?
Mm-hmm.
That all the signs have to be redesigned to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, otherwise, why do we have a 9-foot limit?
Well, we are going to be notifying him, so
Yeah.
you mean we should tell him to take it down right now and put up a new
Well,
one?
I'm just saying, like, while we're at it, because we're talking about it, I don't know, it just seems like, to your point, if we're concerned about visual clutter and we know that one of his signs, he's got other signs in town, are they all too big? Do we just not care about the fact that they're too big? I guess maybe that's fine too.
I think we do care.
Yeah, so if I may, Carol, to Jody's point. So when we look at zoning enforcement, it's a very specific, so this particular memo, we know somebody went out, they measured it and specifically did that review. When it comes to zoning enforcement, there needs to be sort of that level of detail.
Okay.
I will be talking to them in the discussion about 152, that FYI, I think your quote, regular sign is oversized, that needs to be resized. If you want a similar effort, I would default to the board. But I would not be inclined to do a carte blanche type of enforcement request without the documentation in place.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
That's helpful.
Yeah, just so it's all kind of documented and clear, and that the violations are clear when looked at the regulations and bylaw.
Yeah, I gotcha. Thank you.
And they're consistent regardless whose sign it is. So, if you see a sign that looks too big, just let Melissa know and it will be, measured. Melissa and I were chatting today about tonight's agenda, and I think maybe for the December newsletter that we put in a blurb summarizing, the signs and our philosophy, and letting folks know what to do if they feel that there is a sign that isn't appropriate, and reminding them that when they have work done on their property and the contractor's done, that the sign needs to go as well.
It would also be good to put something in the newsletter about the tree bylaws, you
There
know?
has been.
Yeah.
We did that. But yes, we can do it again.
Do it again.
Yeah, because I know just even a lot of my neighbors, there's a lot of, people that have moved in, and there just
Sure.
seems to be a lot of chatter about that. Trees are I'm sure this is nothing new to you guys, but it is very important to people, and I think it is important to put that out there because, these laws aren't known by everybody. And it's too bad that there's no way to add teeth to them,
Yeah, I mean, if the fine situation is almost meaningless.
Right, because,
You're selling a $2 million house, what's a $10,000 fine?
right.
And I know that the education piece is challenging. We have certainly tried to get the information out there and educate our public. And we have flyers that were, I believe, sent out or supposed to be sent out, but it's, there's new contractors coming in. As Mike said, especially when it comes to tree cutting, there's a lot of new ones that kind of come in from outside of the community, so it's hard to reach beyond the borders of the community sometimes when it comes to education, but we'll keep going. We'll keep
Yeah,
trying.
and yeah, no, it's definitely certainly no criticism to the board, but
Oh,
it's
no, no, yeah.
like, right in the center of the town where, it's like ticks are everywhere, every once in a while
Yeah.
it's like, oh, Dover Sherborne High School musical. And I love seeing all these things, but it's like, hey, you better be careful before you cut down that tree.
Have you checked our
Save
tree
the
bylaws
trees.
lately? Maybe that's what I need to do. I think
Yeah.
that's a great idea,
It's a
Katie.
good idea.
It also might be helpful, and Chris is working on a welcome package for town residents and stuff, and somebody moves into town, their house is on a wooded lot, as the example of the Walpole Street clear cutting. They just don't know. It's probably worth. I know, Val, that you had at some point was talking about getting this information out to the realtors.
Yep.
So that they can inform their clients and the folks that they sell houses to and so forth. But to Katie's point, you're absolutely right, Katie. It's a multifaceted issue, and it has to be ongoing just because of the turnover.
Yeah,
You know,
it's just
the
like
folks-
almost, and I know it takes a lot of manpower to stick, flyers in everybody's mailbox, but I just feel like all of our mailboxes are inundated with, around springtime with, like you said, mosquito control and all these things. And it's just a shame that it should be inundated with, don't forget, you can, this is the, these are our laws and our bylaws, just to remind everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's an excellent point. Excellent
Or,
point.
or put it up in Dunkin' Donuts where everybody goes. Maybe we need to partner with Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah. Or, at least the seasonal stuff, right? I mean, you send something out in the spring talking about water conservations, everybody's putting back on their sprinkler systems, there are all kinds of things like that, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for homeowners, I totally agree. I think for licensed professionals, it's their responsibility also to be checking our bylaws and to know what our bylaws are. So especially, if they do work, not just in Dover, but any of the communities around here, like they know, everybody knows in May or in the fall, there's always updates to bylaws happening. So it's also the licensed professional's responsibility.
Yeah.
I know, I just feel like you could lodge a complaint, I wish you could, like, to lodge a complaint against them. Maybe it's the landowner that will have to pay the fine, but you could lodge a complaint against the actual workers that come in and perform it.
Well, the fact of the matter is, to the point before, yes, there are loads of tree guys out there coming from wherever, right? You just get put out a bid if you're doing a lot of tree work on your property. It might be somebody who's never worked in Dover, but the owners should know, and the contractors should
The
know.
general contract, that's something you
Well,
should
truthfully,
be
they
able to
We have
lodge
a
a
lot of
complaint.
contractors that come in here that haven't worked in Dover before, right?
Something you should be
If
able
I
to-
may, the
Complaint
MS4,
Then I get the Better Business Bureau, for example. Sorry, go ahead, Melissa.
I'm sorry, Katie. Dover, Sherborne, Medfield, MS4 is a federal EPA law, stormwater controls. It has been around for over 20 years. I was trying to think when it first came out, probably 25 years now. So all of these requirements, regardless of what we call it or what it looks like, I would guess 99% of Massachusetts municipalities have something like this, whether it's stormwater, whether it's earthworks, whether it's grading, and they're all interconnected with disturbance. And that's really what triggers a lot of these stormwater permits. So understanding that people might not know Dover's, but if you're in the profession of touching the ground and disturbing it, and you're in Massachusetts, you've had enough time to get up to speed. It's, this ask for forgiveness stuff really gets concerning to me, because the perfect example, again, is 152 Walpole. Aside from the public hearing, the removal that was done there it changes things, it really changes the feel of that section of Walpole Street. If you drive down now, it's just everything's all tight little openings, and then all of a sudden it's wide open. So one suggestion I had, and I'm not sure, we used to try to get flyers and other things that the town was sending out. We fortunately in my last community had our own private utility company, so we put a lot of stuff in those. But I'm not sure if there's an opportunity to put something in the tax bill. I know in my tax bill, I get an update. Oh, here's the CPC project. Here's the new water rate. Here's the new tax rate for next year. I happen to read it because I'm a town nerd, but if we put it on a colorful piece of paper, and write free on top, people might start to read it. So I think there is a responsibility as a municipality to inform, but there's also a responsibility as a professional to educate. So it's really on both sides from my perspective. And again, it might be new here, but this is not new stuff. This has been around as long as I've been working in planning, which is a long time.
And we have in the past used our tax bills for all kinds of things, and maybe we need to get back
Yeah.
to that too, even though a lot of people don't even bother opening up anymore because they just pay it online or whatever. But nevertheless, it's the Swiss cheese approach to communication, where if you do enough things, eventually if the stack gets high enough, you don't see the hole to the bottom. So
Yeah.
absolutely right. And and we've talked about this in the last 3 months since Melissa has been here, that the advantage of having an experienced town planner, full-time, for the first time in decades, is that a fresh look can be taken, and bylaws and regulations can be tightened up. They can be adhered to because we have a new operation of the town planning office. And things that were allowed to happen through little old casual Dover are being tightened up throughout the townhouse in all kinds of ways. And there's absolutely no reason why the adherence to bylaws and regulations should be any different than the increased professionalism that we have now in the townhouse, in the financial and the communications area and so forth. So, I certainly support everything that Melissa is doing to go by the book and make sure that everything that we expect to see in an application is in fact there, which has not been the case, as we know in the past. So Melissa, I commend you on all this, and you have our
Thank
total
you.
support. And we'll just all work together to try to get this under control, because it's not right now. These contractors know exactly what they're doing.
I wonder if and I'll let this go because I know we got other things to cover. But another idea would be to work with the schools. You know, you get kids involved, even the high school or like the Chickering. I mean, you start telling kids about these problems, they go out, they notice that their trees down from their neighbor's thing is cut down. I mean, I hate to say, yeah, it's the contractors, but it's the people that are in this town that hire the contractors that go out and, it just,
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we will be working not only in a more comprehensive way throughout town government to address the slippage of our sign philosophy, but we'll also be doing the same when it comes to trees. And probably more so as we get an update from Melissa and Val on the tree committee's work. So any further questions on the regular board business of the agenda before we go up to the town planner updates? Okay, Melissa, it's still yours.
All righty, what do we have here? Moving on to my, what I have started, oh, where did it go? Okay, there we go. What I've put together, at Carol's suggestion, and I kind of operate, if you haven't figured out now, by sheets and lists and all sorts of things. So this is a work in progress. I've populated some sections of it. Some need more, continue to pivot as priorities change and other things come up, which happens quite a bit. But that's okay, because that's why we have the sheet and we can adjust things. So just want to cover a couple things tonight. We have the floodplain updates from the annual town meeting. We've had some additional requests from the Attorney General this year, so I've worked very closely with Felicia to make sure that the proper materials are getting up to the state for their review. So they've reset the clock on us, the 90-day clock, which is a little frustrating, but rightfully so. Unfortunately, wasn't able to be instrumental in providing those things the first go around, but confident now that they have what they need. I'll be reaching out to Eric Carlson. I've worked with him over the last, 2 decades on various issues related to the floodplain in my previous life. And then also we want to get the GIS floodplain layer updated. I've been working closely with CAI. I'm not sure if you folks have had a chance to go on the GIS, but we have now our solar overlay on there and we have our MBTA overlay on there as well. So everyone's able to take a look at those and understand where those are. And we've updated the paper maps as well. We have, again, the ADU bylaw that's up at the state as well, subject to those same sort of timeframes and extensions. We do have the regulations. Carol had those redlined. I'm going to take a look at those probably tomorrow morning. And if we want to have the hearing for December 8th, I need to send the ad over like Wednesday. So I'm really going to try to make that a priority tomorrow morning. Again, we're tripped up with that holiday. We have to advertise 2 times, 14 days. And if it's so soon because of Thanksgiving being on the day that paper is issued. Wilson's Way, we do have one of the easements back. Really excited that we have that. So use that as an opportunity to reach back out to the people that reached out. I think it was in early September. So again, continuing to work on that slow and steady, but really want to, now that we got some momentum. So I really want to try to stick with that. Accounting training, that's a little slow. Really trying to get my bearings on that and get up to speed and pay some bills. Luckily, the one bill that we have, I know the people and they know me, and my municipal accounting skills aren't quite as tight as my planning skills. So, but we'll get there. Again, just trying to prioritize. MBTA compliance application. So I spent some time taking a look at it to see if anything had changed since the last time I had submitted on behalf of my former community. Very straightforward. The application materials are all somewhere in drives on the computers in Dover. So I'm going to start to chip away at that. I did speak to Jeff. We do have some money left in the contract. And I'm going to be getting the GIS shape files from him to ship off to them. They're very picky about what they like, and he knows what they want. So we don't have an in-house GIS person. So we will use him for that. And then the admission to the AG, I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but that was submitted on 10/16. And that one is very tight, very organized. Felicia had some of her forms as well, and she has sent those to me. All of that's going to be put in OneDrive folder. So if there's any questions in the future, anybody can access that. And it's very clear what materials were provided on behalf of our MBTA community zoning. OpenGov, wow. Really excited, I have to say. I've spent a lot of time, and I'll be spending additional time. I took a deep dive and looked at our applications. They were okay. They could be better, and they're better now. So I really took a lot of attention to make sure that, again, we're getting the information we need in the application form. Owners, lot locations, what are you doing? How big is it? How much of the fee is going to be? All of those types of things. I'm getting really excited about this. I think it's really going to open up a lot of communication lines, getting the planning board members all viewing capabilities. So you'll be able to go in and look at anything at any time, right when it's filed, if you'd like, or before the meeting, whatever works for your schedule. And I've been working with Jason. I made this comment last week, and for the record, I want to thank him, the health director. He's been instrumental in this, spent a lot of time with me, and very helpful. He says, "You're in good shape, Melissa." So we're in good shape, planning board, but continuing to chip away at those. The subsidized housing inventory, just again, stumbling upon different things. We got a FOIA request, and I noticed that the inventory was missing some of our 40B units. So I will be taking care of that, completing the forms and getting those up to EOHLC. The one that was missing was the Meadows. I wanted to give an update on the Trout Brook appeal. Carol, it escapes me. This was the one with the segmented lots, correct?
Right.
Yes,
So,
okay.
right. So, yeah.
Yep.
So the zoning board of appeals, back in 2024, denied the permit, and it was appealed. We lost the initial appeal.
Yeah.
The town of Dover is continuing to appeal up the line because the implication for Dover, as well as every other community in Massachusetts, is so significant.
Yes, definitely.
Yep.
Sorry, I kind of spaced on that one, Carol.
No problem. Yep.
Tree protection bylaw. I want to thank Val for including me on this, and we've had some really good discussions, and I'm trying to understand sort of the philosophy in Dover and really sort of what the end game is. We've been able to connect with MAPC, Josh Fila, the director of land use there. We've had some calls, we've had some discussions. He has sent us a proposal. The cost associated with that exceeds the grant. Fortunately, we have some additional funds in the planning office, and we're going to be tapping into those. I reached out to him earlier today and asked him to, we provided him with a scope. I've asked him to itemize the scope with tasks, man hours, and dollars associated with those so that we can see where the dollar's going, and if we need to shift the scope a little bit, if we need maybe more help on public participation or more help on drafting, just so we can get an idea of where the dollars are going and if we're comfortable with that to move forward. So hopefully we can get that back from him in a week or so. Really going to be staying on that. We did have some hopes for spring town meeting. The timeline doesn't really jive we're really not going to be able to get that done for spring. Val and I had some discussions and, we feel it's really important to make sure that the work goes into this. Similar to MBTA, a lot of work went into that and we're very successful at town meeting. And I think being successful in educating the residents and gathering input is priority over getting something done for the sake of time. So, Val, I don't know if you want to add anything to that. But again, we're working on that and it's a priority for me. I know it is for Val too.
Yeah, no, thank you, Melissa. I think you did a great job. I would just add that if it looks like the timeline is probably not going to work for the May town meeting in 2026. And I think that that's fine. I think as Melissa said, what's most important is that we get a good quality bylaw put together. And then if it gives us a little more time to do some education, if we wait until 2027.
Thank you, Val. Bylaw cleanup, I'm keeping lists, sticky notes, just ongoing. The site plan review is paramount. I've had several discussions with Carol, and I'm already kind of formulating in my head, separating out preliminary site plan review with full site plan review, and really making sure that the criteria and the things that we want to focus on are clear. And it's also clear that what the performance standards are going to be for the public as they do these smaller projects. The larger easement project, not started yet. Obviously, this is an ongoing thing. Carol and I have discussed this. I have a lot of experience in this area and want to be helpful, obviously. So we're going to be getting to that. Obviously, MBTA compliance and site plan review and OpenGov are kind of the three pots I got on the stove now, but larger easement project it's on the shopping list. So we're going to get to that too. Very excited. I've got a lot of applicants for the admin position in the office. And I'm going to try to set up some interviews for next week. We've got a good selection. I want to try to pick the top 4 and maybe narrow it down from there. Then future applications, 54 Farm Street is a riding stable. We have 7 Stagecoach, which is a really nice outdoor covered living area with cooking and chimneys and fancy couches. That will be on for November 17th. And then we have 3 Claybrook Road, which is a shed. The 54 Farm and 3 Claybrook, bits and pieces trickling in on these applications have made it very clear to the applicants and property owners. Nothing gets stamped in with the town clerk until we have a complete application. All the plans, the check, and everything. The clock starts when we stamp it in, and the town needs ample time to review the materials. I don't want to be chasing people down for things, really trying to keep the office, running smooth and making sure everything's accounted for. And, a little bit of a plan here, half application there. That's how things get lost and we miss timeframes. So full, complete applications only is what gets on an agenda going forward. And I hope the board's okay with that. And that's all I have now. I'm going to, again, continue to add to this. At any point, if any board member wants to know where we are on something, once I get this thing a little bit tighter, I'll be sending it out with the packet as well. So the board members are a little bit more prepared if they wanted to ask me some questions or ask me why this isn't done or why, the status went from, or the priority change, whatever the question might be. Just want to communicate and want everybody to know what I'm working on. And as things progress or as we hit bumps in the roads, I think it's important for people to be informed of what's going on in the office. So that's all I have for tonight, Carol. Thank you.
That's all? You sure?
That's it.
Thank you, Melissa. You have no idea how long we've been waiting for something like this. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
A couple things from my end. Melissa and Jody and I attended this month's Dover Housing Task Force meeting last week. And things are moving along. I think we mentioned last meeting that contract has been signed with Judy Barrett of Barrett Consulting to work on the housing plan. So that will start shortly. And Melissa will be very involved working with Mike Blanchard on moving that along. So very excited to get started on that. Wellesley just approved Barrett Consulting Group's strategic housing plan that Judy did for the town of Wellesley. I wanted to take the opportunity to thank Sue Hall for her decades of service to the planning board. She's been on leave and has chosen not to return. So Sue, if you're hearing this or see this in the future, thank you for your years and your dedication to the town. We appreciate it. Melissa will start interviewing for the admin position over the next week or two. And according to Melissa, there are some applications there that she's looking forward to pursuing. So that's good news. The associate planning board position that is open, the deadline that we promoted was this Friday, November 7th. It's been on the Dover website for a while, on a bunch of Facebook pages as well, official town as well as the individual ones. And I've asked them to send out, the communications team at the townhouse, to send out an email blast tomorrow. One last chance. At this point, we have one applicant. And I think that is all I have. Does anybody else have anything else for an update before we finish up the rest of the meeting while we're talking about updates?
Thank you, Melissa, for all the work that you've done. This is really great. This was a great meeting.
Oh, you're welcome, Val. My pleasure. I really I don't know, it just seemed kind of just getting there and everything just happening and falling into place. And it's interesting for me, having been somewhere for so long and then going to a new community. Am I going to fit in? Are they going to like me? So I'm ecstatic. And my husband is too, because my life has really improved since switching jobs. So just a win-win for everybody, I guess.
My husband says the same thing.
I was just
And Rebecca John says the same thing too, right?
I was on mute, but I had this exact same thought. So
Too funny.
Society, it's wonderful. Okay, so we've talked about the future business. So item 6, approval of minutes. So you received this afternoon revised minutes from January 6th. And basically what happened was that I was notified, and Melissa was notified by Peter Heideland, who is the 20 Haven Street owner, who's building that garage in the back of the property that he was leasing out. That the minutes that are on the website do not support the motion that was made at town meeting. I mean, at the January 6th planning board meeting. So we've listened to the January 6th meeting again. And in fact, if you take a look at item H there, abutter has expressed desire for landscape buffer.
Excuse me.
Yep, that was fine, but the minutes that were posted included a motion item number 7.
Yeah.
Not, of course, on the new one, that said the applicant will provide a natural vegetated buffer in an area agreed to by the applicant and the Bensons. So if you go back to see, we don't know exactly why the minutes that were posted don't reflect the motion that was made at the meeting. But we're glad that Peter brought that to our attention. And so these are the revised minutes that remove that from a condition and make it clear that it remains as a finding. And Melissa, will you just explain to everybody, as you explained to me, the distinction or the lack of distinction sometimes between a finding and a
Yes. Yeah. And just what you see here in yellow is what has been put into this. So I took this directly from the signed decision, converted it back to a Word document and pulled it right from there because there was a variety of different drafts. So when a finding is something that the board is considering in their decision making. So it's a factor that plays into the decision, not necessarily a condition, which is a hard and fast requirement. But findings are also enforceable, and findings are kind of the talk before you get to the conditions, if that kind of makes any sense. So what did the board consider, and what did they find and factor into their decision making in this particular case for the garage here? So in my discussion with Carol, if at the meeting there was a discussion about natural vegetation and that it was agreed to, and the board was aware of that, and they said, oh, okay, now I'm comfortable, I'm going to vote for this, that is something that it can be upheld and can be required to be implemented because the decision was based on that. In a lot of decisions, especially special permits, you will see a separate section that are the special permit findings, and then you will see a whole section that are the special permit conditions. So we'll be getting there soon. But the important part about this is now we have good minutes, and because of the way that the decision was written, the vegetated buffer is something that will need to be done.
Thank you for that. And Melissa, would you just send Peter an email with the new set of minutes and just remind and tell him that we approved these tonight, and they'll be posted on the website.
Yep. And I updated just so it's clear if anyone looks at these and said what went on. So I kept the approved as amended, the original, the date of the meeting, the original vote, and then the second vote, so that there's a clear record of how these minutes transpired.
Yep, great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions on those minutes? So we need to approve the minutes of January 6th as amended. Let's do a roll call vote. Katie?
Yes, approved.
Jody?
Yes.
Val?
Yes.
And Carol, yes. Okay, then we have another set of minutes. I'm getting good at these. These are October 6th.
You're the recording clerk too.
I just skill sets just go all over the place. So here are the minutes of October 6th. They are double checked by Melissa, but do we have any comments or edits to the minutes of October 6th as submitted? Okay, in that case, let's take a roll call vote. Katie?
Yes.
Jody? Val?
Yes.
And Carol, yes. Jody nodded her head.
Oh, yes, sorry. Can you not hear me?
All right, not a problem. So that's all I've got. We have a meeting coming up on the 17th, which now, of course, will include the continuation of the hearing tonight on 152 Dedham Street. And whatever other applications Melissa can get, that applications that are completed, so that Melissa has time to review them before then. Anything else? Great meeting, everyone. Thank you very much. And, based on what we were talking about much earlier this evening, any thoughts, additional thoughts you have on education and implementation of our sign bylaw and how we get our streets back to normal? Please share them with Melissa. She will share them with the staff in the townhouse.
Carol, there was an attendee post the hearings, Tina Kent, that has her hand raised.
Oh, Justine, you're back. Where are you?
She actually left a comment, Carol, that she wants reflected in the meetings. It sounds like she was unable, she got here late to the,
Oh, okay.
something like that. So if we look
Oh,
in
in the chat?
yeah, look in the chat and you'll see her comment or the
I
question.
responded to that comment.
It was
Uh,
in the, it was in the.
I responded to it, so while the meeting was
Okay.
going on, so it's completed.
Oh, I didn't see that. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
there you go.
Basically, she too wanted to express her concern about the proliferation of signs
Okay.
and the fact that our bylaw and regulations are not being adhered to or acted upon.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, well, I think between now and our next meeting, there's Thanksgiving. Am I right? Or
No.
No.
Thanksgiving's the end.
November 17th, Thanksgiving.
Oh!
7th, yeah.
oh, phew.
There's
Okay.
Veterans Day.
Is that-
Melissa, I just sent you a text, email also that I'm unavailable for the first meeting in December. I just want to make that note to you from a quorum perspective, if that's a problem.
On December 8th, Jody?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, I'll make a note.
Thanks.
So while we're on that, can everybody else make the 8th? As of now, at least?
I'll be there.
Yes?
I'll be
I'll
there.
be there. Katie?
I'll be there.
So it looks like we'll have a quorum of 3, at least. Yep. Great.
Okay, great. So we'll have
Okay.
at least 3. Awesome.
Okay, everyone, thank you.
Alrighty, thank you.
Good
Have a great
evening.
night. Great meeting. Thank you.
Have a great night.
Have a
Thank
good night,
you.
everyone. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.